Welcome back, everyone. River State Governor Stephen Fubara invited the 27 Pro-Wike lawmakers led by Speaker Martin Amawile for a crucial meeting, signaling a potential resolution to the ongoing political crisis in the state. The invitation conveyed in a letter signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Taimi Danagogo, was issued on Sunday in Port Harcourt. That meeting was scheduled for today, Monday, March 10, 2025, at the Government House, Port Harcourt. The discussions was to focus on providing a suitable space for the Assembly sittings, settling outstanding remuneration and allowances of the lawmakers, and addressing the presentation of the 2025 budget. But reportedly, that meeting didn't hold. Some members of the State House of Assembly turned down that invitation by the state governor. They questioned the mode of invitation transmission, and according to them, the letter was posted on social media. They expected that such a letter would have followed the proper channel. What then is the implication of all of this? Is this game on for both sides? But Governor Fubara rewrites that letter, and the lawmakers ready for such discussions. All of these are our focus tonight. Also, in a related developments, the River State House of Assembly has issued a warrant for the chairman of the River State Independent Electoral Commission, Justice Adolfo Senebeli, to appear before it. The Martins Amawile-led Assembly issued this arrest warrant on Monday during plenary after the expiration of its 72-hour ultimatum for the electoral chief to appear before the House. Let's also tell you that less than 48 hours after two commissioners of the River State Independent Electoral Commission resigned, another commissioner, Iberebo Evelyn Thompson, resigned on Monday. Earlier, Lansbury Na and Professor Simon Boyle had resigned from the commission. Tonight, let's get the perspectives of constitutional lawyer Fred Nzako and barrister Osi Olisa, a PDP chieftain and one-time chairman of Ogbaime and local government area of River State. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Mr. Nzako, let me start with you. River State political crisis has been on for nearly 2 years. The Supreme Court judgment is sacrosanct. But from your own perspective, expectedly, what impact does this have on the political tussle in River State?
Well, it's very obvious that with the political imbroglio in River State, the people are not getting the very best of governance. Irrespective of how one tries to cover the impact, it is very visible that the people are not getting their due share of good governance on account of this tussle. And of course, the most painful aspect of it is that the tussle doesn't seem to have a prospect of ending. I thought that with the judgment of Supreme Court that and the determination of the governor to obey the orders of Supreme Court and other lawful orders of other courts of record, that the issues will be arrested. But unfortunately, it seems that the traducers of the governor, those who don't want him to remain in power, are hell-bent on removing him, irrespective of how the people of River State feel about his governance. And one can only ask that there be consideration for the interests of the people, and not only for the selfish aggrandizement of the major gladiators in this matter. Governance is all about the people and not all about the selfish interests of the political actors. The over 6 million people of River State expect good governance, but what they are getting is one week, one trouble. Every day there is a new twist in the issue that I refuse to be arrested. And I think that the earlier they arrest this issue and calm down their egos, then the better for not only people of River State, but for them themselves. Because the fowl that is perching on the cloth line is dancing, and the cloth line itself is dancing. He who is holding a man on the ground is also holding himself. So they are not that they are not being affected by this unnecessary imbroglio. But because the two are also being affected, they are not having their peace, and God forbid that they begin to physically assault one another, in which case there could be bloodletting. And we pray that we don't get to that level.
Absolutely.
But let there be wisdom and let there be peace.
And rightly pointed out by you, Mr. Iseko, looks like, the Supreme Court may have put the legal battle to rest. But from the handwritings on the wall, both sides are still flexing their muscles on who would take the first bow. Did you think a letter posted on social media should have stopped the lawmakers from honoring Governor Fubara's invitation? If indeed both sides are committed to this peaceful resolution, should the conversation about whose signature was appended be a matter of discussion, or is this really an action in disrespect?
Both sides are not being sincere and they are not being honest. Obviously, government does not work through the social media. There must be a channel of communication. So if the House, because the executive was also claiming that the 48-hour ultimatum issued to them by the House to represent the body was issued to the social media, that as far as they are concerned, there was no such communication. Now, the legislature is also claiming that the executive reached out to them through the social media. And if that being the case, then both parties are getting it wrong. They are all there in River State. You don't have to serve notice or correspondence through the social media. We haven't gotten to that point. We haven't gotten to that level. Even if the court talks about alternative means of service, it is usually not social media. When the court will be specific and say, serve the notice through publication or in the newspaper or by pasting the notice at the doorpost of the receiver. The idea of using social media to communicate is not only childish, but is a slap on the sensibilities of the people of River State who expect good governance. So both the executive and the legislature, if any of them has resorted to use of social media to communicate to the other arm of government, then they are getting it completely wrong.
All right. I'll come back to you, Mr. Iseko. Mr. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us tonight. So what should have stopped Governor Fubara and his team from taking this letter through the proper channel? Second, if there was no crisis on ground, with the SSG's signature on a letter addressed to the lawmakers be an abomination, what are the options available for the governor and the proper handling of these issues? I mean, it looks like even after the Supreme Court judgment, both sides are still trying to further complicate these issues.
You see, there is something about this whole thing playing out. It's a test of leadership. The governor of Rivers State, irrespective of his age, is like taking out.
So, are you there? Okay. All right, please go ahead.
The governor of Rivers State is like the father of the state. And he is expected at trying times such as this to provide leadership. If I were the governor, there is nothing about this in other than the interest of Rivers State people, the Nigerian nation, and our democracy. Why we have all these things is because there is no good relationship between the governor and the House of Assembly. The fundamental thing and important the governor ought to do now is to restore that relationship that was lost. And if I were in his position, he knows where the Speaker of the House of Assembly resides. He has to play politics and go to the governor privately. Go to the Speaker privately. Discuss with him, tell him yes, the Supreme Court has given a judgment, we must all obey the Supreme Court. But for a start, you are the Speaker, the head of the legislature, in the three arms of government we have in Rivers State. I am the chief executive, the governor of the state. We are all Rivers State people. We have been privileged to be in this exalted position to serve our state so that the interests of our state should be uppermost in everything, in our acts and our conducts. Let us talk like brothers. let us evolve good working relationship that can move River State forward. So River State shall be better off.
All right.
Let us
Mr. But
walk
if you
away.
critically look at the content of that letter, which says...
Can you allow me to finish,
all right.
my dear sister? Can you allow me to finish? Because this is the crux of what is going on.
Okay.
What is going on now is that there is no trust, no good relationship between the executive arm of government and the legislature. So the fundamental thing the government has to do now is to restore that. You should provide leadership by restoring that. By the time they restore that, the issue of letter will just be a mere formality. You discover that letters, the correspondence will be flowing without any hindrance. What is going on now is that there is no proper leadership demonstrated by the governor, and he has to demonstrate leadership because he's occupying a privileged position. So he has to prove that he can provide leadership for River State people and in the interest of River State people. She stooped to conquer. You have to stoop to conquer. Are you with me?
I can hear you. But of course,
Yes.
if you look at the content of that letter, Mr. Olisa, which says, kindly hold on, critically looking at the content of that letter, which says, provide a suitable space for the assembly sittings, settling outstanding remuneration and allowances of the lawmakers, addressing the presentation of the 2025 budget. This does not look like a man who is not ready for peace to reign, does it?
But do we really have to go into putting all those things down in a letter?
What difference would that have made?
We don't even need to even write and put that into a letter. As the Supreme Court delivers its judgment, you implement the judgment straight. The act will speak for itself. You have to demonstrate good faith. Yes, he's aware that he's holding some part of he's holding their money. Release it. Demonstrate leadership. Release it.
All right, then. Let me go back to Mr. Nziako.
Everything. You don't need to do any correspondence by that. You know your duties, your functions as a governor. You know what you owe the House of Assembly. You go into implementing those things that were hitherto denied them. When you do that, they to their human, they will see that you've shown and demonstrated good faith.
So you don't need to write. You should have just implemented the Supreme Court judgment instead of writing letters.
See, just obey the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court did not say write letter. It was not a part of the judgment.
All right.
All those things that were withheld by the House of Assembly members, give it to them. Make sure that you don't hinder their operation by any means. Give them all the security they need. You can do that without writing a letter to them. He has their accounts in terms of a payment of their whatever that is their salaries and whatever. You pay those things. Let them begin to. Those things are known. Nobody, don't get any person to educate you on what the figure is. You know the number of the people involved. Begin to demonstrate it. Let the act speak for itself.
All right, I'll come back to you. Mr. Nziako, let me come to you now because, you know, there are those also wondering if the lawmakers are constitutionally empowered to give the governor an ultimatum to represent that budget. Help us with a legal perspective.
Well, the law, the Constitution, in as much as it gives the House of Assembly power of oversight, I do not think that it gives it power to compare the executive to present the budget within the 48-hour window that was given. Budget presentation is a constitutional duty of the executive. And the Constitution provides that before you begin to expropriate the fund of the state, it must first be appropriated. Now, the first appropriation was considered inordinate, and the governor was asked by the Supreme Court to go and represent the bill for proper appropriation. Yes, the governor had just said he will not do so. I believe that he is arranging himself and his cabinet so to do because he had said that they will obey the lawful orders of court. But the House now jumped up in unnecessary infantile ecstasy to begin to issue ultimatum to the executive. that they must present that budget within 48 hours, or else. Then the question is, or else what will happen? The chairman of the party in the state now completed the threats by saying, or else the governor will be impeached. That word impeachment is a word said that is used in the jungle of politics. And it is that word impeachment that has brought the untold brouhaha between the executive and the judiciary. That word impeachment, nobody, no political office holder likes that word impeachment. And the question will be, why would the governor from time to time be harassed, intimidated, and inundated with intimidation of impeachment? It is like a man who continues to move around another man with a cutlass in his hand. How do you expect that man that you're circling with cutlass to be at peace with you? He cannot. At all times, he'll be looking over his shoulders to be sure that his head is still standing on his neck. If there should be peace in River State, that idea of running around the governor with a cutlass in hand, with impeachment in hand, should be dropped if you want peace. And the Nigerians expect that the Rivers executive and Rivers legislature should be encouraged by the Rivers judiciary to ensure that impeachment is not used as a trump card. Why would the party chairman of APC be harassing the governor with impeachment? Now, if you keep that aside, the governor said he will represent the budget. He still has the window to represent the budget. Not all states in Nigeria have all passed their budget. So one cannot say that it is too late in time. We are in March. Yes, he has to present it as soon as possible. But the idea of an ultimatum of 48 hours is in very bad taste. And now the governor has asked them to come for a meeting. They said he addressed them through the social media. And the executive said, you also address me through the social media. Wouldn't these two offices respect themselves and respect the sensibilities of the Rivers people that elected them? I want to disagree with my learned colleague on the other side. He is leaving too much burden on the governor, forgetting that it takes two to tango. When two people are in a tug of war, the two of them must determine to find peace among themselves or in between them before peace can be found.
All right.
And that is why when we go to the alternative dispute resolution process, both people who are in dispute must naturally submit themselves to resolution.
All right,
the look of things, it looks as if one side is not ready to resolve, and they want the other side to continue to capitulate and to continue to bend on his knees. And I tell you, that is not the way to go when you want peace.
All right, then. You know, the Supreme Court ruled on other matters, which is the invalidity of the October local government election, which was another interesting development. The judgment sacked the local government chairman as a result of the pronouncement made by the Supreme Court, declaring the election invalid for grossly violating the Electoral Act. Mr. Ezeaku, let me stay with you. How do you process this outcome of the judgments on the validity of that election, considering the drama that ensued before and during the election? And for the purpose of clarity, the court held that processes leading to the conduct of that local government election were breached in clear violation of Section 150 of the Electoral Act.
I criticize the Supreme Court with all due respect to the learned justices that gave that judgment. I criticize their judgment with respect to that local government election. And I have my ground for taking such position. One, the Supreme Court had ruled or judged that any state that does not conduct any local government that is not run by elected officials should not get their share of allocation from the federation account. Meaning that in trying to seek local government autonomy, the leadership of the local government must be by elected representatives of the people, especially the chairman and the councillors. Now, there was an election in Rivers. The build up to the election did not give the governor any option. One, INEC, Federal High Court asked INEC not to release the voter register for that election. And of course, that was against the interest of the people. So it was a wrong judgment ab initio. But another court of equal and corresponding jurisdiction, the state high court, asked that election should hold. Now, there were two judgments coming from two different courts that are equal and opposite and parallel. One is saying, do not conduct the election. The other is saying, go ahead and conduct the election. What do you expect the governor to do? Meanwhile, he needed to conduct this election because there was a timeline given to the Supreme Court judgment on issue of local government election. And that was why several governments of various states were rushing to conduct the election to beat that timeline so that their money should continue to come from federation account. Don't forget that local government system derives to something percent from federation account. So it is huge. And that is money that is used to run the government at the grassroots of governance in the whole country. So you don't expect that any state will toy with issue of local government election. Now the the state government has made the election, and the election was adjudged credible, and good enough. And the Supreme Court has nullified it. Meanwhile, the issue of that election did not stand before the Supreme Court. So we in law, we say that the court is not Father Christmas. But I think this time around, the Supreme Court was not just a Father Christmas, but gave a bazaar to those who came to it for issue that one issue we came to the Supreme Court and the three issues were adjudged. Right. So that threw River State to a quandary. And that is where I say that that judgment would have been better considered because that election, there was no reason why that election should be nullified because it followed all due process of law. If you say that there was a judgment that said, do not conduct the election, there was also another judgment that said, go ahead and conduct the election. So what do you expect the governor to do when he had already mobilized all the facilities needed for the election? We expected the Court of Appeal should obviously settle that one before you talk about the Supreme Court. But that issue has not been touched by the Court of Appeal, and it came to Supreme Court expressly. Okay. And I can tell you that it was not a good one at all.
I'm sure Mr. Olisa disagrees with you, but let me come back to you, Mr. Olisa. While you react to what Mr. Isako had said concerning the nullification of the local government election, RISEC is mandated by law to fix the date for elections in the state, backed by Section 5 of the River State Independent Electoral Commission Law, number 12 of 2018. Now there is a new date. August 9 has been fixed for a fresh local government election in the state. Does the House have any constitutional backing to object to this?
Well, before I delve into the issue of the local government, the validity or otherwise of local government election, I dare say that my learned friend was very, very uncharitable when he said that nobody should talk about impeachment. Section 188 of 1999 Constitution has amended, made provision for the removal of government who does not conduct his activities within the ambit of the law. Mind you, we have three arms of government, and these arms of government are separated. That's what we call separation of powers between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislature's duty is to check the excesses of the government. That of the judiciary is to interpret the law. If you talk about impeachment, it is when the governor's conduct is seen to be an infringement or violation of the law. It will not be called to question. The whole excess is that, according to Baron de Montesquieu said, any person that's given power will take it as far as energy can carry. So because of that, there's need to separate this power so that we have the executive having their own power, the legislature and judiciary, they will consider a check on the order. That is why, if any issue of violation of law is evidence in the society or there's question of rights being violated, you go to the court of law that will interpret the law. When you talk about issue of appropriation, the governor's duty is to prepare the budget. That of the legislature is to consider it. After considering it, they will pass it, and the governor will also, it will go back to the governor again for his assent. So there was a separation of law so that the law will not be violated. Before you become a governor, you must swear to oath of office and oath of allegiance. In that oath of office, you must swear that you must abide by the Constitution. You must adhere religiously to the words and letters of the Constitution. If you do anything to the contrary, you'll be questioned. And that is what they call impeachment. So the issue of impeachment is not an illegal pursuit. It is duly provided for by Section 188 of 1999 Constitution as amended. So any person who is afraid of it may be somebody who knows that by his conduct or by his action or inaction, he is now in violation of the law. So the fear of the law coming after him is what is causing the entire problem. So the issue of impeachment is a legal provision by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So my learned friends should not begin to see it as an illegal thing, that when you mention it, somebody will be frightened. No, it is not to frighten anybody. More so, there's a procedure and process to it. When they say they want to impeach a governor, the emotion, there will be a notice of impeachment.
All right, Mr. Alisa, we need to go on a break. So quickly, I want you to react to my question. We need to go on a break, but quickly, I need you to react to that.
But let my learned friend make the society understand that everything about impeachment has a procedure. There's a proviso for it in our legal system. So anything that's done within the ambit of the law should not be feared. Any person who goes with the law, who operates with the ambit of the law, should be seen as a civil person. That should be encouraged. That's on one side. Now, when you come into the issue of a local government election, the fact that Supreme Court delivered a judgment and said that local government should not be run, should only be run by elected, democratically elected government. That is good, and that is the right thing to do. When they say go and conduct election, it also has a process. It does not mean that go and conduct election, just come to your village and write names of people and announce and say you conducted election. No, that's what my learned friend seem to be advocating here. There's a process to it. The judgment of Justice Lifu is that the process was not followed. And what a good lawyer or a lawyer that operates as a professional, a lawyer of conscience, ought to do to advise his client that, look, this is the judgment of the court. Let us go back, obey the court, and correct those things that we do not do right. When we correct those things that we did not do right, we can challenge any court to inquire into our activities and conduct. And when we do that, we shall triumph and come out victorious. Look at if you look at this judgment of the Supreme Court, immediately after the judgment of the Supreme Court, the RISEC invited stakeholders to a meeting. They now want to start the procedure. They now felt that, look, yes, the Supreme Court has nullified our activities. Let us now do it right. They started, even when some people are still querying the manner and way they are going about it, they are now trying to correct the activities, to abide by the due process of conducting the election, which is what they missed out in the last election.
We need to take a break at this moment. But when we come back, we will expand this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program tonight to take another look at Rivers political crisis and matters arising. And I've been speaking with Barrister O.C. Olisa. He's a PDP chieftain and a one-time chairman of Ogbagbema Doni local government area of Rivers State. And I also have Amin Fred Nzako, who is a constitutional lawyer. Gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Before I go back to Mr. Nzako, Mr. Olisa, I wanted you to, give me your perspective on this particular issue, because an arrest warrant has now been issued by the Rivers State House of Assembly for the chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, Justice Adolfo Senebeli, to appear before it. This was after the expiration of its 72-hour ultimatum for the electoral chief to appear before the House. What do you anticipate would happen, especially after the resignation of 3 commissioners of the electoral body?
You see, I'm aware that the House of Assembly, Rivers House of Assembly, sat today, and I have the information that the House has also ordered for the arrest of the chairman of the Rivers Independent Electoral Commission. You see, All these things are because of the works of fit colonists. The House itself has right to summon the governor by virtue of section section 108 of 1999 Constitution as amended, and it also has the right to regulate its own activities and conduct by virtue of section 101 of 1999 Constitution as amended. You see, if the House invites somebody that's working under the executive as the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, the ideal thing to do is to go there. What they are merely doing is to give you fair hearing as provided for by chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Right to fair hearing. To hear from you what transpired in the course of your conduct of the last election. You go there and present your own side of the story. At the end of the day, it will go one way or the other. If the man does not appear, as he has not appeared now, and they ordered for his arrest, I'm afraid he may be arrested. And if he's arrested, there are some allegations that may be brought forward against him that may lead to even triable matters before a court of law. And if he's tried and is found guilty, we all know what that means in law. But I want to, yeah. So you see, basically, what the right thing to do, if not that other persons are trying to create a problem in River State by discouraging the chairman from appearing before the right thing would have been to get the other side of the story. Because in law, we say if you are coming for equity, come with a clean hand. Present your side of the story. And at the end of the day, the assembly members will also look at it and then know whether you are guilty of any act or the other. But don't also forget that in that House of Assembly, there are people that represent the constituency of the chairman of RISEC. RISEC chairman has a representative in that House of Assembly. And I know that the representative of the chairman of RISEC will not just be there and something upwards or something adverse is being done to the chairman of RISEC. Again, the chairman of RISEC is somebody who has distinguished himself on the bench. He is distinguished as a judge. So many people, especially those of them in House of Assembly, have very high respect and regard for him. It's just a matter of going to present your side of the story.
All right, Mr. Olisa, let me go back to Mr. Nziako. And I want us to talk about the pick and choose of court judgments, cherry picking of court orders. We saw a lot of that as regards this Rivers political crisis. Some say, yes, the governor is guilty of that. Others say, blame it on conflicting judgments. But the central argument is that the crisis or this crisis escalated and lasted longer than it should have. Had there been regard for the rule of law? Had there been respect for constituted authority? Rivers may not be in the position it is today. The position of the Constitution was clear on most of these issues. But for you, how did we get here, where some sitting governors have no regard for court judgment? And why has it gotten this bad?
Well, we must realize that this matter in Rivers State, which started from the breakdown of political friendship between two former political allies, and then they now dragged every other person, including the teacher, the market woman, the school pupil, and everybody in Rivers, into the boxing ring, where these two gentlemen are supposed to be fighting each other. At the end of the day, when two elephants fight, the old adage says that the grasses will suffer. The grasses in River State are already suffering, and then it is damage control that they're trying to do now. And it is not expected that people who were elected into office to serve the people will be more interested in serving their fellow human beings than serving the people that elected them, or serving themselves than serving the people that elected them. The challenge in Rivers, as we speak today, there are over 50 different court cases arising from this issue. Some in Rivers State, some in Abuja, and just between Abuja and Rivers, you have a lot of cases. By the time you're handling one, another one will rear its ugly head. Even as we speak, the constitutional status of the 27 defected lawmakers has not been restored, has not been settled in court. It is still at the level of the Federal High Court, has not even gone to appeal, and has not gone to Supreme Court. And that is why people are saying that, analysts are saying that the Supreme Court overreached itself by giving health to that issue and pretending as if they don't know that there was such problem or such matter lying before the Federal High Court. But be that as it may, in the event that there are several judgments, some of them conflicted, coming from courts of coordinate jurisdiction, it creates confusion for adherence to the orders of the court. And we saw that play out in the issue of local government elections that were held on 5th October 2024. Judgments were coming out. Some of them, people even imagined whether such judgments were even well thought out because of the nature of the judgments. But of course, like we say in law, even if the judge is drunk and he gives his judgment, that judgment is valid. And that is why the judges are enjoined to always be very careful, very circumspect, live above the pedestrian level, and know that they hold the fate and the destiny of people in their hands. Now, when there are several judgments on the same issue, it creates confusion of adherence. You adhere to one, the other one is in conflict. You adhere to the other one, this one is in conflict. Until the matters get to Court of Appeal and ultimately to the Supreme Court. So one should not begin to blame anybody for this confusion. You rather blame the people that are creating the confusion. And of course, I speak as somebody who has no direct partiality to any of the issues, but somebody who observes the fact that not only that we must always respect the rule of law.
Absolutely. So Mr. Ezeaku, because of our time, so what should the River State House of Assembly, can you hear me, Mr. Ezeaku? What should the State House of Assembly and Governor Fubara do at this point to avoid further escalation?
What they should do is to let down their ego, unnecessary political ego, and think more of the interests of the Rivers people that elected them. Fubara was elected by people of Rivers. All the legislators were elected by people of Rivers. They must think in direction of their welfare, their interests, and not only on their political interests and political selfishness, and they are just trying to secure their power. The power lies with the people. And that is where it pains everybody that it is difficult to draw the ears of politicians unless through doing elections. By the time 2027 comes near, the people will run back to the people to begin to beg for votes. Forgetting that they have not managed the votes that was given to them in 2023. Instead, they use those to oppress the people and bring untold hardship to the citizenry.
All right, Mr. Allison, let me come back to you. You're from Rivers. How can River States grow beyond this kind of politics and ensure a rancor-free succession? And do you agree with some Nigerians who say what is going on in River States is a reflection of the kinds of personalities that make up Nigeria's political class?
Well, before I delve into that, I would like you to...
We have just 1 minute left. We have just 1 minute left.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we have just 1 minute left.
Yeah. Can you hear me? My learner friend did raise issues of conflicting orders of court. In terms of the local government election, it was an isolated case. Conflict between the court in Abuja and that of the High Court in Abuja and that of River State. That is all. The matter went to Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal upheld the election, the local government election. It is at the Supreme Court now that it was invalidated. So the issue of conflicting judgment order and people relying on it to now act outside the ambit of the law is neither here nor there. Now, when you talk about the status of the members of the River State House of Assembly, the matter is now res judicata. It has been arrested. When a matter is before a court of competent jurisdiction, parties usually present their own side of the story. The governor of Rivers State was mandated by Justice Omotosho to present his budget to amicably, right when Martin Chika led House of Assembly as at then, because there was another led by Okojumbo. Now, but the governor chose not to obey it.
All right.
He appealed against it to Court of Appeal.
Mr. Olisa, sadly we're out of time. I wanted you to react to that particular question, but we're out of time. Sadly, we're out of time. But I'm sure we'll continue this conversation some other time. Barrister O.C. Olisa, PDP chieftain and former local government chairman. And I also had Fred Nzako, who is a constitutional lawyer. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your perspectives on the program tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke. We're using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatiji. Good night, everyone.